can of corned beef, and a compact block of pink salty meat slides out, still wearing the shape of the tin. Beef? Clearly. Corn? Not a single kernel. There is no corn, none. So why does the name include an ingredient that is not even there? It is not a translation mistake, and no forgotten recipe once mixed beef with yellow kernels. The answer comes from an older meaning of the word corn, from a time when keeping meat edible was a daily problem rather than a matter of putting it in the refrigerator. That one word opens a much larger story. Coarse salt crystals, Irish export ports, crowded neighborhoods in New York, military supply lines, and breakfast tables in the Philippines. Before following that trail, though, we need to know what corned beef actually is. Let's get into it right here on Simple Things Revealed. First, what exactly is corned beef? Today, corned beef can describe two products that barely look related. In the United States, it usually means a whole cut of beef, often brisket, soaked in seasoned brine and cooked slowly until tender. Slice through it and the grain of the meat is still visible. It is moist, substantial, and commonly served with cabbage, potatoes, or stacked into a sandwich. In many other countries, the same name brings to mind a rectangular can. The beef has already been cooked, chopped or shredded, pressed into a dense block, and sealed for storage. It can be sliced cold or broken into a frying pan. The two versions feel different. One keeps the texture of a whole cut. The other is soft, compact, and built for convenience. Yet both begin with the same idea. Salt helps beef last longer. Why is corned beef pink? That rosy color can make corned beef look undercooked, even when it is fully done. Modern corned beef is often cured in brine containing a controlled amount of nitrite. It helps limit dangerous bacterial growth and reacts with meat pigments, allowing the beef to stay pink after cooking. Without curing salt, cooked beef usually turns brown or gray. So in this case, color tells you more about the preservation method than the level of doneness. Now back to the name, because the clue has been sitting there all along. When corn meant something else. Centuries ago, corn did not refer only to maize. In older English, the word could describe a small, hard grain or particle. A peppercorn was one example. A rough crystal of salt could be another. Meat was often preserved with coarse salt rather than today's fine table salt. Imagine small white stones pressed against the beef. Those crystals were sometimes called corns of salt. Once meat had been rubbed, packed, or soaked with them, it could be described as corned. Corned beef simply meant beef treated with coarse grains of salt. The name was not wrong. The everyday meaning of corn changed, while the food kept its old label. What sounds confusing now is a surviving piece of language, so the mystery is solved. But the name only makes sense if salt was important enough to define the entire product. Before refrigeration, it was. Before refrigerators, salt was survival. Picture a kitchen with no refrigerator, no freezer, and no delivery truck carrying chilled food from hundreds of miles away. Once an animal was butchered, a large amount of fresh meat had to be used quickly. Some could be cooked immediately, some could be smoked. The rest was in a race against warmth, moisture, and microorganisms. Salt changed the conditions around the meat. It drew out moisture and made the surface less welcoming to many bacteria. Beef could be rubbed with dry salt, packed between layers of crystals, or submerged in a strong brine. Given enough time, the salt moved into the meat itself. The result was not simply old beef that lasted longer. Curing changed the texture, deepened the flavor, and created a product with its own identity. Salt did not stop time. It bought time. That extra time could carry a household through winter. It could let a merchant move meat to a distant market. It could keep a ship supplied after the coastline had disappeared behind the horizon. The meat still needed proper storage, and it did not become indestructible. But even a few additional weeks could save a valuable food supply. Once beef could travel farther without spoiling, preservation became more than a household technique. It became a business. Ireland exported it, but most Irish people rarely ate it. By the 17th century, Ireland was a major center for salted beef, with large cattle herds, access to salt, and ports linked to Atlantic trade routes. Beef could be cured on a large scale and shipped to England, continental Europe, the Americas, overseas colonies, merchant vessels, and British naval fleets. A perishable product had entered international trade. Barrels of salted beef could leave Irish ports and remain useful long after fresh meat would have spoiled. But the people producing it were not necessarily the people eating it. Good beef brought a higher price abroad. So much of it left the country. Many Irish households relied instead on foods that were more affordable and easier to obtain, including pork or bacon, dairy products, potatoes, and vegetables. Irish people did eat corned beef, but it was not the everyday national dish modern images sometimes suggest. Ireland became famous for exporting a food that many ordinary residents encountered only occasionally. That is the first great irony in the story. Corned beef became strongly associated with Ireland partly because it traveled away from Ireland. Its most familiar Irish identity would take shape later, after people crossed the Atlantic too. The Irish-American dish that wasn't born in Ireland. During the 19th century, large numbers of Irish immigrants settled in American cities, especially New York. They arrived with familiar tastes, but local prices, available ingredients, and neighboring food traditions reshaped their meals. Jewish butcher shops already sold salted brisket prepared according to their own culinary customs. The cured flavor felt familiar, and beef was more accessible to many Irish immigrants in America than it had been at home. Cabbage made practical sense alongside it. It was cheap, easy to find, and could feed several people from one pot. As it cooked beside the beef, it absorbed the salty broth and turned two ordinary ingredients into a filling meal. Over time, corned beef and cabbage became linked to Irish-American neighborhoods and St. Patrick's Day. It carried an Irish connection, but the familiar version was shaped in the United States. Back in Ireland, bacon and cabbage had a stronger place in everyday tradition. The dish was Irish, American, and shaped by contact with Jewish food culture. That mixture created the meal we know. The meat that traveled with ships and soldiers. Long before corned beef became a holiday meal, salted meat was doing practical work aboard ships. Crews needed food that could survive weeks or months in warm, damp storage. During the 18th and 19th centuries, salted beef and pork became common naval and military provisions. The British Navy relied on them when fresh supplies could not be guaranteed. For crews far from land, preserved meat was less about taste than certainty. There would still be something substantial to eat tomorrow. Canning extended that usefulness. Meat could be cooked, sealed, stored without refrigeration before opening, divided into portions, and shipped in large quantities. By the two world wars, canned corned beef was a dependable ration. It was cooked, traveled well, and did not require a nearby kitchen. Then there was the package itself, the tapered tin, the small metal key, and the narrow strip that peeled away from the side. Twist the key, remove the top, and the meat slides out as a solid block shaped by the container around it. Today, that may look old-fashioned. In its time, it answered a difficult logistical question. How do you move protein across oceans and battle lines without losing it to spoilage? The tins reached places far beyond Europe and North America. Once they entered local kitchens, their military purpose mattered less than what people could cook with them. How one preserved meat became many comfort foods. In the Philippines, canned corned beef is fried with onions until the edges brown, then served with garlic rice and eggs. It is quick, salty, and familiar. Across the Caribbean, bully beef may be cooked with peppers, onions, and spices, then eaten with rice. The tin may have arrived through trade, but the flavor belongs to the kitchen using it. In parts of Latin America, corned beef appears in sandwiches and empanadas. In Hong Kong, it can turn up inside a sandwich or in a bowl of macaroni soup at a neighborhood cha-chan-teng. The same preserved meat takes on a completely different character beside each region's familiar flavors. None of these meals feels like a military ration. Each place adjusted the meat to its own ingredients, habits, and pace of life. A food designed to survive storage became breakfast, lunch, comfort food, and sometimes a taste of childhood. That is what happened to corned beef wherever it traveled. People stopped treating it as cargo and started treating it as theirs. A name preserved better than the meat. So why is it called corned beef when there is no corn inside? Because the coarse salt crystals once used to cure the meat were known as corns. Those grains helped beef survive winters, ocean crossings, military campaigns, and long journeys before refrigeration existed. For many modern English speakers, especially in North America, corn eventually became closely tied to maize. The older meaning faded from everyday speech, but the name of the food stayed exactly where it was. Salt preserved the beef long enough to travel. The name preserved a forgotten meaning for centuries. The next time a slice lands on a plate or a pink block slides from that tin, you are looking at more than preserved meat. An old word is still carrying the history of trade, migration, war, and ordinary kitchens. What other everyday food has a name that never quite made sense to you? Tell us below and subscribe to Simple Things Revealed for more hidden stories behind simple things.